everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Stories for Little People. We're here at Eastside Freedom Library. My name is Kristy, and let's get reading. Grab a snack, grab a friend, or if you just want to watch this, go right ahead. So we'll start off with our first book today called Let the Children March. So let's get started. This is 1963 in Birmingham, Alabama. I couldn't play on the same playground as the white kids. I couldn't go to their schools. I couldn't drink from their water fountains. There were so many things I couldn't do. One warm spring night, my family went to church. We weren't there to have regular service. We were there to hear Dr. King speak. We were there to plan. Let's see what they were there to plan. He wanted to raise an army of peaceful protesters to fight for freedom. His brown eyes flashing fire and love. Dr. King told us the time had come to march. If I march, Mama said, I'll lose my job, sure enough. I can't march, Daddy said. I got a family to feed. The weight of the world rested on our parents' shoulders. But this burden, this time, did not have to be theirs to bear. I don't have a boss to fear, my brother said, or job to lose. We can march this time. We'll be Dr. King's army, I said. I'll be fine, Daddy, I promised. Don't worry, Mama. Dr. King didn't like children being put in harm's way. He was a daddy too, after all. But he said that though we were young, we were not too young to want our freedom. Let the children march. They will lead the way. On May 2nd, a sunny Thursday, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, cousins and friends, we all met at the church, dressed in our best, feet ready. In a silence so loud that all I could hear was my racing heart, we began to walk. Hand in hand we marched, so frightened, yet certain of what was right for freedom. The path may be long and troubled, but I'm gonna walk on. Would I be hurt? Would we be heard? Would it all be worth it in the end? I wanted to run from the angry faces in the crowd, run from danger, run from fear. Boys and girls, brothers and sisters, cousins and friends, on and on we marched. We marched. We marched. Singing the songs of freedom, 1,000 strong we came. Hate dogged my heels all that day, its yellowed canine teeth sharp, but courage walked by my side and kept me going. Disperse or you'll be jailed, the police shouted the first day. Disperse or you'll get wet, the police shouted the second day. Disperse or we'll release the dogs, the police shouted the third day. We did not disperse. We kept on marching. We couldn't stop until things started to change. Hundreds of us went to jail on that first day, and even more on the second. My turn wasn't until the third day. After I was sprayed by water stronger than anything I've ever felt, Rough hands pushed me forward, and I fell to my knees. In the police wagon, I was going to jail. Dr. King reassured our parents. "Don't worry about your children," he said. "They're going to be all right. Don't hold them back if they want to go to jail, for they are doing a job for not only themselves, but for all of America and for all mankind." That night, crowded into a cell too small for even half of the kids, we sang, "We shall overcome. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. And freedom is coming." Our parents couldn't be there with us, but still we sang, wrapped in the proud and loving arms of our ancestors. I was still in jail, but we heard that the next day and the next, more kids marched. The water hoses they used to sting us could not stop our fierce tide. The path may be long and troubled, but I'm gonna walk on. Those are brave kids. Turn the other cheek, we had been taught. Show love where there is hate. The world watched as hate bruised us, but for 7 days we walked only in love. The jail swelled to bursting, and even President Kennedy took notice. Daddy said that the president received letters and calls about us and from all over the world. Our march would become a memory, a small part of a larger story. But we had been heard, and the seeds of revolution were sown. Two days and nights I stayed in jail. Some stayed even longer. When I left, I was tired and sore. My best dress was ripped, but my smile was as wide as the Mississippi River. I had made a difference. "I'm so proud of you, baby girl," Mama said. "Your march was what made them see." With nothing more than our feet, voices, and courage, we had done what others could not. Change was right around the corner. We felt it like a cool breeze in an Alabama August. On May 10th, the great news rang out. Dr. King had reached an agreement with the white leaders of the city. Desegregation would begin. One month later, I was playing on a playground I had never been allowed to play on before. 2 months later, my family ate at a diner we'd never been allowed to eat in before. Our march made the difference. We children led the way. Singing the songs of freedom, 1,000 strong we came. And that was the Let the Children March. All right, our next book is called Silent Music, A Story of Baghdad. I love the art in this one. It's really, really cool. My name is Ali. I live in Baghdad. I love playing soccer in the dusty streets with my friends. I love loud, parent-rattling music, and I love dancing. I love dancing too. But most of all, I love calligraphy, writing the letters of my language and making them go from right to left across the page. I love to make the ink flow from my pen, stopping and starting, gliding and sweeping, leaping and dancing to the silent music in my head. Writing a long sentence is like watching a soccer player in slow motion as he kicks the ball across the field as I leave a trail of dots and loops behind me. Some words are easier to write than others. Their letters loop together and make beautiful shapes all by themselves, like the word Yasmin, my little sister's name. It just flows from my pen. Look at that. So beautiful. Other words are difficult. Too many loops, too many tall masts that turn into tangled knots of ink. These words, like my grandfather's name, Mufasa, I practice over and over. See, when something's hard, you just gotta practice. I'm always writing and doodling on the margins of newspaper and magazines, old envelopes and faded receipts, everywhere, even on the fogged up windows in wintertime or on the mirror in the bathroom. My dad laughs to see the messages I leave behind suddenly leap back to life as he steams up the mirror while shaving. Look at him, ha ha ha, laughing. My mother jokes and calls me Yakut after the most famous calligrapher in the world. He lived in Baghdad too, 800 years ago. He practiced writing every day. He invented new ways of making letters. He was a genius. I don't tell anyone, but he is my secret hero because he could create such beauty. There's a story they tell of Yakut. One fearful day in the year 1258, Mongols attacked Baghdad. As they buried the city and killed hundreds and thousands of people, Yakut fell to a high tower. Yakut fled to a high tower. There, Yakut created beauty. He shut out the horror and wrote glistening letters of rhythm and grace. One frightening night in the year 2003, as bombs and missiles fell from the city and death and destruction once again filled the streets, I, like Yakut, wrote. I wrote all night and the many nights of bombing that followed. I filled my room with pages of calligraphy. I filled my mind with peace. Now, the night bombing has stopped. The one war has become another. So I keep writing the easy words, the hard to write ones. It's funny how easily my pen glides down in long, sweeping hooks of the word harp, war. How stubbornly it resists me when I make difficult waves and slant it off salam, peace. How much I have to practice until this word flows freely from my pen. And that is silent music. All right, so we're moving on to our last book of today's reading, and it's called All Around Us. So we'll begin. Grandpa says circles are all around us. We just have to look for them. He points to the rainbow that rises in the sky after a thundercloud has come. He traces the colorful arc with his hands and says, "Can you see? That's only half the circle." The rest of it is down below, in the earth, where the water and the light feed new life. That's the part we cannot see. But in my mind, I try. Grandpa and I work side by side in the garden, planting flowers and pulling vegetables. We eat what we've grown: crunchy lettuce, sweet carrots, and spicy chiles. Grandpa saves the stems, leaves, and seeds to bury back in the ground. Here is another circle, he says. What we take from the earth, we return. He draws a big circle on his belly with his hand and a little circle on mine. And he says, "We even have circles inside." This makes me laugh. Grandpa and I take a look around our neighborhood, where we find other circles: the sun, the clock, the bicycle wheels. We stare at the green and brown rings in each other's eyes for a long time, and then we laugh again. He's right. Circles are everywhere. "I'll show you one more important circle before the big round moon comes out," says Grandpa. So we walk back in our yard and sit under a tall pecan tree. Grandpa seems sad when he sits here because this is where we bury the ashes of our ancestors. I don't remember them, but he does. "Even our bodies return to the earth," he says, and pats the ground with his big hands. But that's only half the circle. That's the part we cannot see. Finally, we walk to the front yard to water our smallest tree. Grandpa planted it for me one day when I was born, on the day I was born, and everything that fed me while I grew in my mother's belly is buried at the roots. I love bringing water to the apple tree that is already taller than I am. Grandpa pats my head and says, "Do you see, my grandchild? We have new life with you." I am part of that circle too, the part we can see, just like a rainbow. And that is the end of All Around Us. Look out for the circles around you. And remember, you're part of the circle too. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode of Stories for Little People. I hope to see you next time. Bye.